It's
Hello
this.
and welcome to the 2024 Spring LCS Retrospective. I'm Mark Zimmerman, LCS Commissioner, and in this video we will do a deep dive into viewership, community conversations, and some lessons heading into summer. Before we dive in though, a round of shoutouts are in order. First off, to the LCS pro players and teams. We threw not only a historic number of changes at them, but ones completely unique to the LCS. They met all of these changes with an incredibly positive attitude and worked alongside us. The LCS intends to stay innovating, and knowing that our pros can meet these changes with an open mind is why we are able to do so much for fans. At the start of this year, we internally listed every reason that a fan might have stopped watching in 2023, and it was a long list, which included things like the departure of historic organizations and players, unable to watch on weekdays, and many more. Our job for this year was simple: try to make a bigger list of reasons for fans to tune in. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who worked on executing that list, including engineers, comp ops, tech ops, comms, creative, broadcast, talent, features, partnerships, publishing, events, facilities, and many others who worked every single week on the LCS. Finally, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. We hear you, and your feedback helps us build a better product. Now, without further ado, onto the biggest talking points. The main broadcast AMA year over year is up 10%, which is the first year over year growth since 2020 COVID summer spike.
Okay.
That sounded like a lot of gibberish to you.
Wait, hold
year
on.
over year growth since 2020 COVID summer spike.
Oh, this is...
That sounded like a lot of
Ah.
gibberish to you. Let me break it down. Growth since 2020 COVID summer spike. It's up 10%, which is the first year over year. Main broadcast AMA year over year is up 10%, which is the
Okay. I mean, that's good. It's growth. Growth is growth, right? So we're not going to deny growth is growth. Growth is growth. Of course, you're growing from your lowest point. So 10% growth, while it's growth year over year, would still make it one of the worst years. But again, growth is growth. It's good. It's going in the right direction. You would rather see growth than not. But 10% from what was your low. If this was all reduction, right, as you can see here, because 100 would be staying same. So reduction, 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 reduction. Now we're growing on whatever number this was. So it's small, but it's growth. And AMA is relevant. Average minute audience is one of the most important metrics in terms of sponsorships and partnerships. In terms of selling, you want to be able to say that your average minute audience is large.
The first year over year growth since 2020 COVID summer spike. That sounded like a lot of gibberish to you. Let me break it down. Average minute audience is a check of how many people are watching at any minute across the broadcast, all averaged out. And year over year is just comparing 2024 to 2023. And it's the main way that most...
But see, that's the key right there, is that second piece that he said, right? And so when you evaluate this, you have to remember that it's year over year. And so while this is going to be like, oh, we're doing better in 2024 spring than we were in 2021, that's probably not true in terms of what the total number is. Now, again, in terms of the trajectory, we're going in the right direction. So this is the thing. I'm not trying to be a total negative Nancy. I'm just trying to give very helpful and specific perspective for people so they understand what these numbers mean. This is not a simple way to present the stats. I also agree with you there, Paradox. But yeah, the very key thing here to remember is that this growth is only from 2023 to 2024. And that number had diminished year over year over year over year over year over year. So while this percentage is nice, if we looked at what the absolute number that turned into, right? Let's just, for easy math, let's just say that 110%, so 10% year over year growth, let's say that it brought us to 110,000, meaning that 10% was 10,000 of 100. So meaning that it was 100,000 the year before. But if 100,000 was the year before, and that was with a 30% reduction in viewership, actually in 2023 spring, we had more viewers than 2024 spring. So I only have to go back one full year to find better viewership. So I just want to temper people who read the more than anything, the trend is what's important, is that they're going up and to the right. But this is a way, they're presenting the information to you this way, because if they showed you the actual numbers that this resulted in, the only number that this one would be higher than is 2023 spring. It would be lower still than all of these numbers. Now, again, it's going in the right direction, which means, okay, maybe we extrapolate and 2024 summer we'll have another 10% growth. And if we keep growing 10%, then, hey, eventually we will get back up to the numbers that are here. But at the moment, yes, trans people are real. Trans rights are human rights. And we're going to be done with that conversation now. Hey, Dash, I just logged into the client, and on the Hall of Legends video, I think your voice entering it. Depends on which one it is, because if it's right now, it's probably not me. Now I'll listen to that later. The original Hall of Legends video is me, but I assume that they have another one. Is this like the faker one or something? Let me open up my client real quick and take a look. Why did my client disappear? There it is. You said there's a Hall of Legends. Which video are you looking at? I'm on the homepage. Well, how about this? We'll do this. We'll take a look at this afterwards. Okay, but now I need the music to go away. Why are you playing? I don't want music. Okay, we'll just go here. No music. Okay, let's continue on with this video for now. Did you pre-order? No, I will not be buying that skin. Okay. Sorry, we're in the middle of something, so I'm going to refocus here. We're going to get back to watching this video.
Most people tend to evaluate viewership growth. While it is a good baseline, it can't ignore any nuance or context across the year. Usually, the AMA will take the full broadcast of the LCS, meaning the pre-show and post-show numbers included. However, our broadcast is optimized for matches and breaks. In 2024, the LCS shifted from 5 games to 4 games in a single day, accompanied by faster transition times between matches. This means that the percentage of our show that is pre- and post-show proportionally increased in 2024, which can deflate the actual viewership numbers compared.
I think they're straight up lying to us here, but we'll see. I haven't been watching the LCS that much, to be honest, so.
Compared to previous years. The LCS did grow year over year for the full broadcast as well, but even more so when comparing the actual viewership during gameplay and breaks.
So what I'm understanding here,
the LCS shifted from 5 games to 4 games in a single day, accompanied by faster transition times between matches. This means that the percentage of our show that is pre- and post-show proportionally increased in
which I don't think is true, right? How long is their pre-show now? I'm pretty sure their pre-show and post-show are shorter than they used to be. Like, we used to do a half-hour-long countdown. We did shorten it down in 2022, 2023, so maybe it is a little bit more of an accurate comparison in the more recent years, which might be the point that he's making. Mark's an incredibly smart dude, so I trust generally the points that Mark is making. But I think it's a little disingenuous to say that the percentage of our show that is pre and post show proportionally increased. Yes, we have one less game, but he also just said we shortened in between times, and we shortened pre, post, everything like that. So if you've shortened those but also reduced, maybe we're somewhere in the middle. To his point, maybe they're slightly more skewed one way, which would have a small effect on the numbers. But no, I don't think I just think it's kind of a strange, they didn't give us the exact numbers.
Increased in 2020.
So they're using proper logic here. This video is pure propaganda. Well, I think that they're using correct, proper logic here. I would just want them to then show me the numbers, right? So if they had just said, hey, previously our pre-show, post-show, and in-between match time was 15% of our on-air time, 15% of our total on-air minutes. And now they are 20% of our on-air minutes. Great. Then your point is well taken, that more of your show is the downtime, and therefore actually it's deflating the numbers. So the numbers when the games are happening are even better. But also the opposite could be true. The previous percentage could be 15% of the show is pre, post, and in between, and now it could be that it's 10% of the show. He's telling us that it's more of the show. I trust Mark. I just wish I had more context to the numbers, because
2024.
This feels a little icky to me.
Years. The LCS did grow year over year for the full broadcast as well, but even more so when comparing the actual viewership during gameplay and breaks. Now, year over year is not the only way to slice the data though, and that's why we're looking at split over split as well. It's no secret that 2023 summer was a very rough split for the LCS in a number of ways, which unfortunately manifested in record lows for viewership. We don't want to compare 2024 spring to just 2023 spring because it also needed to rebound from the previous summer. Now, spring typically outperforms summer in viewership, so it's a question of by how much. The main broadcast split over split AMA for spring 2024 is the largest growth in the franchise era, both in
again, using percentage.
Viewership, and raw AMA.
Oh,
so safe to say from a viewership
that's
perspective, It was a pretty good split. We take this to mean that the week over week experience for fans was a big step up. And we aren't done yet, as we want to continue the LCS's growth to previous year's viewership. We'll talk more.
Continue the LCS's growth to previous year's viewership. And that's a small little bit of info that goes back to that first thing we were discussing, right? Where I was talking about how the breakdown of percentages, while they're going in the right direction right now, speaks to the fact that they're probably not even back to like 1 year ago's numbers, or they're very close to them. They're probably around there.
More about viewership in a little bit, but it's not the end all be all. There is another topic that matters a ton: sentiment. Viewership is great, but if fans hated the product, we would not be satisfied.
Before he even says it, to my knowledge, this is where they've made the most gains, is that sentiment, as far as I know, was way up in spring of this year, which is part of what I think makes the merger news feel really bad for people, is that a lot of NA fans were like, well, what the hell? We were finally starting to like get it together and maybe move and trend in the right direction. And now once again, you're hitting us with another change year over year. They don't ever let one team, like they didn't let Mark have more than 1 year as commissioner before now all of a sudden it's a merged region. Like, why not just let him have some time to cook? Let him cook, you know? Unironically, let him cook.
Overall, the sentiment for this split is quite positive.
Because sentiment was quite positive.
Main points that fans voiced, and we don't want to turn a blind eye to them. One in particular is the break weeks between week 4 and week 5. And I'm sorry, but I have to set the record straight.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They haven't given up. They've given him half a year. They've given him one split, and they're showing us a video about how well the LCS has done this split, and then following their first self-identified positive split in a long time, they're saying we're going in another direction. Like, what? Give him time. Trust him. He's a smart motherfucker. I guarantee you that.
Break, but it is a 2-week break. Normally, we broadcast on Saturday.
No. He might still be the commish, Tooth. I'm just saying, now once again, we're making seismic ecosystem changes to a league. And as a fan, as somebody who, just think about any traditional sport. If they did what they did to League of Legends, like to the NBA, what they do to the LCS every year, the NBA would not be a popularized sport anymore. If every year they're like, we're going to change the format, we're going to add 2 teams, now we're going to lose 2 teams, we're playing best of 3s now we're back to best of 1s, you're going to try, whatever it is. And now we're going to merge the NBA with the European League, and it's just going to be one giant league. Like, it's just a ridiculous, they just keep doing things, and they just need to stop.
Saturday and Sunday, and there are 5 days until our next show. We inserted 14 more days in there.
Okay, what's happening right now?
Break, but it is a 2-week break. And I'm sorry, but I have to set the record straight. Lots of people called it a 3-week break, but it is a 2-week break. Normally, we broadcast on Saturday and Sunday, and there are 5 days until our next show. We inserted 14 more days in there. So if we were on this Saturday, we were off this one, and then we came back here. From a scheduling perspective, that is a 2-week break. I understand that it's 19 days off, and 19 is close to 21, and it feels like 3 weeks. I understand the feeling, but from a communication and scheduling perspective, it was a 2-week break.
I like that little semantical thing. That's very Mark. We would be, That's a conversation that Mark and I would have. No, I fucking love that pair. You have to know Mark personally to know, like, that's a conversation Mark and I would have behind the scenes, being pissed at, like, Twitter trolls who are like, 3 weeks, it's 3 weeks, 19 is closer to 21, where we would be like, yeah, but we took 2 weeks off of the split. 2 weeks of play did not happen. You only missed 2 weekends, you know? So I kind of appreciate that very...
Joking aside, the
There you
fact
go.
that the
Yeah,
break
yeah.
weeks held stable viewership numbers was a big win for us in terms of maintaining fan interest. However, fans did not like the break, which
Yeah,
was
that
anticipated
break
when we were
sounded
planning the
awful.
LCS schedule. And now that the split is done, it's worth revisiting our initial reasoning. First, we wanted our league to start near the regular season games of other regions so that LCS fans weren't like Squidward in that meme watching everyone else run around and have fun. Second, we wanted our pro players to be playing competitively in the lead up to MSI and for fans to be watching that build up. Finishing too early, again, kind of risked Squidwardification. Third,
I like
we
that word,
considered other formats to
Squidwardification.
elongate the season, but we wanted to minimize the impact to collect data on the other big changes around the live patch and reduced transition times. Any format tweaks that were considered had to be weighed against viewership fatigue, the risk of the data, as well as budget. Fourth and finally, we wanted to avoid overlapping with VCT, especially during our playoff qualifications and the playoffs themselves. When we were considering all of these options, the break was the best one available, and now that we have the data back, we would argue it still is. In a situation where
Ooh. That's actually kind of a slap in the face to all the fans that said, we don't like this. So basically what they're saying is that the fact that you guys didn't leave after 2 weeks away tells us we made the right decision. Even though you're telling us you were not happy with the decision. So they're making a database decision here to say that it was the correct call because viewership didn't drop. Even though we took 2 weeks off, you all came back and watched the LCS anyway. You know, and it didn't overlap, and that's part of why viewership was good. It would have been worse if we had run the league. And maybe it would have been. Obviously, we don't know. It's just interesting to me that they're going to actually lean on the data there versus the sentiment, especially when we were talking about pain points for viewers and sentiment.
When we were considering all of these options, the break was the best one available, and now that we have the data back, we would argue it still is. In a situation where sentiment is inevitably impacted, we will always work to find ways to minimize those pain points for our fans, pro players, and the studio team. Now that fourth reason in particular has been a bit of a sticking point for some, so I would love to elaborate more. One of the first big bets that we made in 2024 was being live at the right time is more important than being live at the right place. Now, this does not mean that location or stage does not matter, but when forced to choose between one or the other, we believe it's more impactful for fans to be on at the right time.
I agree
Our
with that.
primary goal then was moving back to weekends.
It's irrelevant to me where you are if I'm not available at the time, right? That makes sense as a guiding principle, at least in the decision tree that they're laying out for us. If we have to make the decision between time and place, we go with time because, okay, great. That seems obvious.
Which in turn created some weekends of overlap with VCT. This change came quite late into 2024's planning when VCT Americas had locked almost all aspects of their show. And now while the LCS and VCT are two different products, the shows do share many of the same staff on the back end. VCT is also live in multiple languages in studio, which means that their product is a more complex one to adjust both spatially and technically. As the ones who were shifting to cause this overlap, the LCS was more than happy to pilot the new space. Fortunately, the overlap weekend went well. The LCS face-off show was enjoyable for many fans. Neither VCT Americas nor LCS suffered any technical issues, and viewership was good for both products. Overall, we had some big wins this split, which indicates that we are on the right path.
I only remember hearing negative shit about that week. I mean, that was where the Zazel interview came from. So I didn't watch that week, so I cannot personally comment on how the show felt or looked during that week or anything like that. I just saw that one clip. It was hilarious. But okay. He is absolutely correct that the VCT being multi-language is a much more complex product. There are multiple broadcasts actually happening at the same time in that studio for VCT. So it does make sense that VCT, from a technical perspective, would be given priority in that regard.
To cause this overlap, the LCS, well, The LCS face-off show was enjoyable for many fans. Neither VCT Americas nor LCS suffered any technical issues, and viewership was good for both products. Overall, we had some big wins this split, which indicates that we are on the right path, but there are always things to improve on. One area that we fell short was our peak concurrent users, which was down 20% year over year. PCU is a good measure of more casual to improve on. One area that we fell short was our peak concurrent users, which was down 20% year over year. PCU is a good measure of more casual interest in the product and who is willing to tune in for the big moments. While PCU was actually higher week over week than 2023 and rivaled 2022, PCU did not spike in playoffs as much as it typically does. Our working thesis is that while the changes we implemented this split created a watchable and refreshing broadcast for existing fans, we didn't emphasize attracting new and lapsed viewers enough. As we look forward to summer then, we have two main initiatives. We'll be keeping this...
Yeah, I mean, that's a bummer to hear. Down 20% in peak? Eek. Because exactly as Mark says, that is your best reference for whether or not you're attracting any new faces in, right? Your peak is just the highest amount of users that you had at any given moment. So you think of things like Worlds, right? Being the World Finals, pulling in that many people, right? At its absolute peak, it's like, cool, we reached 10 million, 100 million players, whatever it is. That's how you ultimately grow a product, right? If you're not reaching new people, then you're not building an audience. So the fact that their PC is down is a little concerning. But we'll see. We'll see what their plans are here.
Fans first mentality as a goal, continuing to innovate and iterate on the LCS in ways that existing fans will appreciate. The other can broadly be defined as outreach efforts to connect and market to new and churned fans. I'm sure you'd like more concrete plans around both of those, but we're saving them until summer split after MSI. You can expect something similar to the spring LCS address video then.
I think he has that out already,
this video gives you insight and confidence into how we're thinking about 2024 for the direction of the product moving forward. We'll see you back here soon, and until then, make sure to support FlyQuest and Team Liquid as they smack EU down again at MSI.
Cool. Catch up with some of what you guys said. Yeah, some of the discourse on Twitter saying that emotions don't matter. Saying that emotions don't matter doesn't take into consideration one of the most emotional fan bases on the league community. You must consider emotions. I mean, sports is emotional. Of course you have to consider emotions. Or just understand that they exist and they'll be there, right? Is clearly trying to save money with the enormous layoffs, lowering the number of teams, combining leagues is a logical next step in that plan. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, every decision Riot makes is about money, but that should have never come as a surprise for anybody, right? It's a corporation. It's $1 billion corporation. The only thing that drives their decisions is money. Sorry to burst anyone's bubble out there who thinks that there's like a kind, benevolent corporation out there. They don't exist. TL at MSI was so nice to see, or at least they may at one point, but once they reach a critical mass, that aspect of their being disappears. Okay, the Closet Week was kind of fun. They're embracing it a bit more this year from what I heard and making more of a cage match. Yes, and I agree with both you and Amish. From what I heard, it sounded like they made the best of it, but it still felt like a slap, I think, in the face to a lot of the LCS fans and the LCS players of like, oh, you're second fiddle to the VCT. And you put that against the backdrop of Riot having said, we promise the LCS is not second fiddle to the VCT, only to then lose the main studio to them in any time where it would, so it shows a lack of alignment between what they're saying and reality. Okay, we may as well do the summer split primer, because why not?
Explainer video where we will cover format changes, schedule, some new watch experiences, and some hype NaCl news. I hope everyone enjoyed watching Team Liquid trounce Fnatic at MSI. And yes, we were only paying attention to head-to-head and ignoring everything else that happened at that tournament. Anyways,
we did yell you. We just talked about that. That was before this.
We're super excited to announce that the LCS will be introducing
so that'll be in the VOD if you want to take a look at it.
Format for the summer split regular season. It's something that fans have been asking about for a while, and we feel like it's finally the right time to test this. Our goal primarily around this change is fan and pro player satisfaction. We adopted a fan-first mentality for 2024, and this change is a continuation of that. Best of 3 provides teams with up to 50% more games on stage, as well as focusing on a single opponent for the week and having mid-series adaptations. We plan to maintain the blistering pace of show, however, from the regular season in spring, so we'll be targeting 9 minutes between next...
So what's funny is actually this is easier to do in best of 3s. It's like I remember a little thing that goes something like, "There's no such thing as a benevolent millionaire because they don't stay as millionaires." I mean, yes, exactly. You wouldn't be that rich if you were benevolent. There's an element of greed that goes into being rich. Okay, so this is actually really interesting. Well, number one, I'm curious how you guys in chat. I'm curious how you guys in chat feel about best of threes. Once again, switching up the format, going from best of ones to best of threes. I will say at the outset, for me, I don't so much care best of three, best of one. Personally, I've never had much of an opinion one way or the other about one of them being more entertaining than the other or anything like that. Makes upsets more hype, sure. Also makes them less likely, Jump. So you will see them far less often. So it's something to consider. Usually what best of three ends up in is that, yes, the better team always wins, the worst team always loses. Very rarely do you get an upset. And so sometimes things can feel a little bit more predetermined. Also, it highlights good and bad matchups more than best of ones. And what I mean by that is if you have the top two teams going up against each other in a best of three, you're fucking pumped. You're like, this is going to be the best series ever. It's like week 4, random Saturday, but we got, NRG and Cloud9 or whomever right now is going at it. And that's hype. But then you also get the number 1 team against the number 8 team, where the number 8 team hasn't won a fucking map the entire summer and is about to get smacked down in the most boring 2-0 you've ever seen in your life. So you get more of the extremes in best of threes from that perspective, where you get the real duds and the real bangers, and then you get very occasional upsets, which are exciting. In best of ones, obviously, there's more opportunity for things like upset. But I like Fearless for that reason. Interesting. Yeah, worse for viewers, probably better for the top teams. It's a tough one to crack, Paradox, and that's why I have sat throughout my league career really not taking a side in this debate generally. I'm usually more of the opinion of like, well, what do the teams and players think that it should be? Because they're the ones who are actually taking part in the competition. So if they think it's more beneficial, especially considering that in playoffs we do best ofs, that they should be playing best ofs more often, I think they should be playing best ofs. If they think it's more exciting to play best of ones, they should play best of ones. I don't really care personally that much about which format we have. But it's interesting. It seems like a lot of people actually are preferring the best of threes from what I'm reading. It also means there are days I won't be watching at all because my stomach can't stomach watching best one between the matches. I want to see. Yeah, see, and that's another interesting point right there, Brown Sugar, right? Like, that's a great point, actually. Is let's say I want to watch the first game of the day and the third game of the day in a best of one, right? We've got 4 games per day in a best of one format. And let's say my 2 favorite teams or the teams I'm interested in are playing in the first and the third game. Well, I'll probably stick around and watch the second game because it's only going to be 45 minutes to an hour. And I'm not going to get up and leave my house and come back or something. But I'm not going to sit through a full best of 3 before watching the best of 3 that I want to watch. So they might be losing me as a viewer for the first best of 3 of the day if I just don't give a shit about it, and I'll only tune in for the second best of 3 of the day. So that's a really good point. I'm curious how this is going to mess with viewer numbers, both in a good and a bad way, right? Because, again, some of those hype best of 3s are going to really get... game 1 goes nuts, game 2 goes nuts, and now we're in game 3. You're actually going to see probably closer to like early playoff numbers than mid-split numbers in those cases. So there can be occasions where it's good for you, but it's a league issue. I'm not a player one. Oh, it's a league issue. I'm saying they should discuss with players what they feel is the best setup competitively for them. And the only reason why I say that, Paradox, is because League is very strange. Like, unlike Age of Empires, right, where, yes, there's a difference between a best of 7 and a best of 5 and a best of 9. Absolutely. And actually, no, this is something I've brought up. Actually, at NaC, I don't like when you qualify in a group stage playing one type of way, and then you go into a different type of play. Because I'm like, well, I qualified being good at this thing, and now I'm being tested on this other skill. Or going from a best of 3 to a best of 5. Those are actually different, right? Like, it requires me to learn at least an extra map or 2 maps or get 2 more civs that are, like, you're testing a different skill set in a best of 5 than a best of 3. So that's the only reason why I would want them to talk to players is like, hey, Worlds is best of 5s the whole way through, or it's best of 3s into best of 5s. Do you think it's valuable to play best of ones regionally then? Probably not. Maybe we should play best of threes. So I think it's valuable to get their insight, but you're right that it's a league problem. And they change the format every fucking year, and that's my biggest issue, Paradox, is that now we're going from best of ones back to best of threes. We've been best of threes in the past. We were best of ones before that. Europe's been best of twos. As a viewer, I just don't even know anymore. It's crazy. They tend to be a bit lazier, maybe slothing. Okay, either way, I think this is interesting because he mentions they want to maintain the blistering pace of the show and that they're going to target 9 minutes between Nexus Fall and the next game start. Now, I started this whole conversation by saying it's actually easier to do that in best of threes because you have the same teams leaving the stage and coming back to the stage in a best of three, right? So game one ends, teams exit the stage, they go discuss their plans for game two, and they come back. If we were doing best of ones, when the game is over, they leave. We now have to bring 10 brand new players on stage, get all their tech connected to the computers, and then run through tech checks on all of them. You don't have to do that in games 2 and 3 of a best of 3, so you save a lot of time. My assumption, Elter, I don't know, my assumption is 2 best of 3s a day, because that'd be a maximum of 6 games, a minimum of 4 games. Right now, their days are 4 games long, so they're going to do 2 best of 3s on Saturday and 2 best of 3s on Sunday, is my assumption. Makes the competition more dynamic when players have to handle best of 3, best of 5, best of 7. That's interesting, Paradox. That's interesting. I just think, and I don't necessarily dislike it. I just think we all have to recognize that you're testing something different. Because I know players in certain games that might win a best of 3, but then would lose a best of 5 because they don't have the stamina or they don't have the ability on multiple maps. So I will keep using Age of Empires. Like, I might win a best of 3 if I can play only land maps, but once it goes to best of 5, shit, now I have to put a hybrid map in there, and I'm not a good hybrid player, and I might now only win 2 maps but then lose the next 3, right? So in my opinion, they are testing different things related and can be entertaining without a doubt to have that dynamism in there, but it is testing different. I like best of 3 because it also allows for more experiments. Everybody power picks once and sticks to the meta because one game can swing their season instead of trying to something cheeky, creative or cheeky, level 1 invader, something. Yeah, it could possibly. Do you ever stream AoE? Occasionally. It's not terribly often, El Tarago. Sometimes I play, sometimes I cast. I think that's good from a competition standpoint. Cool. I get iffy about it. Like, I don't like if semifinals are best of 7. I made the case. I was like, I don't want best of 9 finals. It just, so when we were at NAC, he Nilly polled us all, and I was like, no. If you want best of 9 finals, you have to go best of 9 semis, and then 7s before that. That was my case. Either way.
In the start of Champion Select in games in a series.
Okay, 9 minutes.
I want to emphasize the word test here and share a little bit more of our thinking. The goal of this change is not to increase viewership in the short term, and we would not be surprised if it dipped a little bit as a result. We anticipate core fans to enjoy the change, but we need it to be supported by the entire viewer.
And best of 9 is just silly.
Last time the LCS tried best of 3s back in 2016, it was alongside dual streams and viewership suffered. And ever since then, fans enjoy the change, but we need it to be supported by the entire viewer base. Last time the LCS tried best of 3s back in 2016,
I remember this.
It was alongside dual streams and viewership suffered. And ever since then, it has been a topic of a very lively debate online. 2024 is the ideal time to revisit best of 3s with the reduction to 8 teams. As with 10, the scheduling was always difficult, with one matchup awkwardly stranded on its own on a different day. True. We've seen some people also requesting Fearless this split for the LCS, given its best of 3s, and while we're open to that idea in the future, the priority is getting clean data around best of 3s for the LCS. The final nugget to note is that historically, viewership does tend to drop between spring and summer splits, and we will weigh 2024's viewership against that history.
YouTube could never.
Even if this test proves successful, that does not mean that best of 3 is suddenly the future for LCS for all time, but rather it helps us know what's on the table for decisions in 2025.
See, that scares me, man. Like, I mean, I get it. They want data, they need data, or they feel like they do to make these decisions, but okay, you just claimed you had a great and successful spring split. Now you're going to inject a format change, and you're not even committing to that format change for more than this split.
At the risk of derailing this video, we're super happy to discuss all that with the community at a later time. We will parlay the regular season best of 3s into a more intense focus on competition for playoffs as well. With 3 spots at...
Is there anything I can clarify for you, Paradox? I'm trying to figure it all out, too. But yeah, I mean, they're going to commit to the best of threes for this split just to get data, and then I think they'll decide between, well, do we like the best of ones from spring or the best of threes from summer better? But also, how are you going to evaluate best of threes in summer when you already spoke in the last video about how summer inevitably has worse viewership than spring? Like, summer has never outperformed spring. It's just the case. So what data are you going to get here that's actually going to be effective, useful data? You could compare this summer to last summer, but how do you compare this summer to this last spring? Different formats, different times of the year. Like, I'd almost rather wait for them to do the best of three thing till next spring so that you can at least compare spring to spring data. BF3 data, no. You can't compare this to 2016. That's way too far apart in time to be relevant. So, like, this best of three data, what I'm saying is, like, how is the data from this summer really going to be useful? You're only comparing it to, what, best of one summer from last year? But at the same time, you're comparing it to a best of one summer. I don't know, man. It just feels weird to me.
On the line, we've modified our spring playoff bracket to start all the teams on the winner side, with seeds 1 and 2 getting first-round byes. Additionally, seed 1 will be able to choose where they start in the upper bracket, depending on which set of opponents they prefer. For the losers bracket, we've resurrected...
Sure, El Tarago, that is true, but it's a massive oversimplification of a lot of things. I don't know why they just don't use Dota's tournament structure. It's just too good. What do? Do they probably do, like, Swiss into double elim or something? They need minimum a full year of data for best of 1 and best of 3 to really compare. But Riot doesn't want to wait that long for data. They never do. I assume the data-driven stuff comes right from the top because it seems a bit silly. I agree, Paradox. I think it's all just a massive corporation going, like, what are the numbers? Show us the numbers. Are we getting higher viewership? Can we make more money? Are we getting closer to being in the black and not the red? You know, like, 100%. I bet they're giving fans a farewell to LCS with the format changes and region changes. No, I don't think so. I don't think this is a farewell. Oh, you mean because it's going to be the Americas next year? You're saying, like, this summer is considered the farewell, and that's why they're doing the best of 3? Is that what you're saying? I don't think that's why they're doing it, to be clear. I wonder if they'll do some kind of special. I don't think that's why they're doing it, but I think you raise an interesting. The idea of a farewell season is pretty interesting to me, and I'm curious how they're going to approach this because it is actually the last season of the LCS. Then it's the last split of the LCS, considering it becomes Americas next year, or whatever the fuck they decide to call it. So that's actually interesting. I'm curious how they approach, like, saying goodbye to the LCS, if at all. Personally, don't think tournaments should be double elim and then not double elim. Should be double elim and then not double elim for finals. Really fucking stupid that one team gets a second chance and the other one doesn't. Ooh, I could have a big debate about that. Maybe we talk about that later because we're in the middle of this video because I've got opinions on that whole matter. You need way more than 1 year of data. You need years upon years. I agree, Paradox. Like, and again, you need years upon years of data that actually is comparable. They make a change every split, so it's like, and they change multiple variables. So I'm like, how do you ever identify what variable mattered?
An old favorite with the gauntlet from the olden days. Teams will drop into that gauntlet based off where they lose in the upper bracket, as well as their regular season seeding.
Cool, that's a fine.
The goal of all this is to make the single round robin best of 3 stakes even higher with the amount of effects it has on the playoff bracket. On to the schedule. So, the LCS will be back starting June 15th for opening week presented by MasterCard. With a single round robin,
hey, that's in 3 days.
Decided to eliminate Super Weeks and stretch those 2 extra Fridays into a week 7. Best of 3 also means that not every team is playing every day, so LCS. Make sure to grab your tickets for your favorite matchups as soon as possible. Tickets at the link below. You'll see that, like spring, there are some wrinkles to the LCS summer schedule. Weeks 2 and weeks 4 will be played in the LCS face-off space with...
Wait, what?
Into a week 7.
Hold on, let me... Okay. Why are we on a Thursday, Friday? What's happening here? Thursday, Friday, randomly. Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, playoffs. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Interesting. So no Sunday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Oh, but yeah, it's got to be a Valorant
Best
thing.
of 3 also means that not every team is playing every day, so make sure to grab your tickets for your favorite matchups as soon as possible. tickets at the link below. You'll see that, like spring, there are some wrinkles to the LCS summer schedule. Weeks 2 and Weeks 4 will be played in the LCS face-off space with updated looks for the summer split. That first week of July is the Esports World Cup that the LCS and other regions are pausing for. To prevent player fatigue for the teams traveling, and we want to give pros time to rest and recover for the LCS, we have chosen to have a second week off as well. Along that same vein, we spoke with players and decided to move Week 3 to Thursday and Friday as a result. After the break, the LCS will pick...
Okay, so just so I understand, the reason why this is happening is because after Week 3, June, it's the Esports World Cup happening somewhere in here between the 28th of June and the 20th of July. So there's a giant dead period there, and they moved these up probably so they could fly the guys out to be a part of the Esports World Cup. And then they just resume back in on Saturday, Sundays. So that explains that.
Split. That first week of July is the Esports World Cup that the LCS...
But they already did mention, too, there will be 2 weeks that they shove teams into the closet.
...are pausing for. To prevent player fatigue...
Yeah, the one in Saudi. I got invited to host it. I got invited to host it. What's the Esports World Cup? It's basically a Saudi sports washing attempt in the esports world. They're like trying to create like a Esports World Cup / Olympics event, and it's happening in Saudi Arabia rather. It's very, very. I didn't go for it, Mehraj. I turned it down. It was a lot of money. Money that I should have taken, given my position in life right now, but morally couldn't bring myself to do. So I did turn it down. It was not easy. It was not easy. Well, it was easy in the sense that it is my morals, but it was tough knowing how much money I was turning down. Because they even kept coming back to me as going like, how much?
Pros time to rest and recover for the LCS, we have chosen to have a second week off as well. Along that same vein, we spoke with players and decided to move Week 3 to Thursday and Friday as a result. After the break, the LCS will pick back up on July 20th.
I appreciate you all.
We shared our thinking around
Love you all very
situations
much.
in spring, and that reasoning still pretty much holds true in summer.
All right.
If you're not up to speed, check out our videos from Spring Split.
We did that,
Now
Mark.
that
We
know
got
what's in
you.
store for summer, let's talk about
New ways to watch.
To improve the watch experience.
What?
For existing hardcore LCS fans, we'll be rolling out a new Twitch extension on our official channel. During gameplay, viewers can click around and pull up detailed build and game information live as it happens.
Yo, Slothin, it's no Saudi money, but now this is better money, my friend. I'll take Slothin money over Saudi money any day of the week. Here you go, King. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you. Grab that bow tie. Looking mighty dapper. Get some attention on AoE for it. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's very frustrating, Paradox. Any chance of me going back to Riot? That's up to them, not to me, really. I mean, it is up to me in the end, but they'd have to reach out to me first, if you know what I mean. I don't get to just dictate whether or not I go back to Riot. Yo, Brown Sugar converting from that Prime up to the Tier 1. Thank you so very much. Retweet on the message. I appreciate you. Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate it. All right, let's get into. I want to hold on. He's gonna explain this again. This is interesting. New ways to watch.
Existing hardcore LCS fans will be rolling out a new Twitch extension on our official channel. During gameplay, viewers can click around and pull up detailed build and game information live as it's happening.
This is a Twitch extension
for us on Live Patch, granting fans even more knowledge to use immediately in their own games. We owe our friends down in the CBLOL a shout out for helping us create the LCS version. If you use this feature, please let us know what you think and what you'd like to see added. We also want to improve the casual watch experience by partnering up with select.
So hold on, yeah, let me take a look at this again. Sorry, yeah, so stop, pause. So, oh, they just put random. Oh, this is it's not in English. I was like, what? AMA, average minute audience. What does that mean in Portuguese? Because I'm assuming that's actually a Portuguese. Yeah, this is clearly the CBLOL. I just don't know what AMA stands for. Because it's obviously KDA. Like, it is kills, deaths, assists. But what are the something? No, I know it's KDA. Guys. I'm trying to figure out what the words mean. M is maybe muerto. Some kind of version of muerto, which is Spanish for like dead. But what is AMA? And then we know. Yeah, I just want to know what the actual words are. I know that it stands for KDA. I'm trying to figure out what the words are. Anyway,
For
that's just
LCS fans, we'll be rolling out a new
Asistos.
Twitch extension on our
Abate,
official
Mortis,
channel. During gameplay, viewers can click around and pull up detailed build and game information live as it's happening. This is especially exciting for us on Live Patch, granting fans even more knowledge to use immediately in their own games. We owe our friends down in the CBLOL a shout out for helping us create.
Very cool. This sounds like a really badass. I would love that because I'm always curious about like skill level ups and stuff. I think that's a cool
watch experience by partnering up with select
cool
watch
change.
parties around North America during the regular season, not just for finals. This is a great way to build bonds with.
I don't know about
fans
you guys. Are you guys
in
much
your
of like a
area,
watch
as
party
well as
people? I
potentially
am not.
introduce your
I
friends
never
to
want to go to a
LCS.
watch party. I'd be down to have like a couple buddies over, grab some wings and have some beers and watch LCS. But I'm not like a I want to go to a place and watch it with a bunch of people kind of person.
Thanks, Kamish.
Unless it's like more on location. Like, again, I go on site. But if it's just like, oh, there's an Atlanta watch party for an LA thing, I'd be like, I'll just stay at home on my comfy couch. I sit in voice chat, but that's it. Yeah. Vulturing CB Law. Honestly true, though. Some people do love it. No, I know. That's what I mean. Some people really love it. I had a watch party at your house without you. You did, Magic. You guys did. Does that not count as a watch party? I mean, it does, El Tarago. I guess what I meant is, is that something that people look for? I mean, clearly people do. I'm not one of those people that wants to go to an unfamiliar, like, public location to hang with people and watch something or watch the LCS. I just don't have that urge. I don't even really have that urge for, like, football, baseball, like anything, you know? Like, it's a little bit more for traditional sports than for esports, but mostly for, like, sports watching, I just want to be comfy on my couch with a bowl of chips and dip and a beer and some friends. If you know people there, yes, yeah. See, like Paradox, it's slightly different when I think about things like the NaCl watch party, where it's like we're in close proximity, and I know that it's like more attached to the event than just like a thing that's happening.
Hi everyone, my name's Zach, aka Riot Whoopley, and I lead the NaCl.
That's kind of cool, Amish. But I think there I'd be a little bit more inclined because I assume I would know a lot more of those people, you know, like being a part of the club versus like, oh, there's just a watch party in my area happening at this random bar. Like, I'll go not know anyone. Maybe I'll make some friends, don't get me wrong. But, yeah, if it's going to be strangers, probably not.
Excited to announce that Brandon Sanderson's Dragonsteel and OTK's Starforge Systems will be joining the NaCl. Mark and I have been working closely together on how to keep leveling up the NaCl and our Tier 2 ecosystem. The two core ideas that kept cropping up were, how do we continue to drive towards team sustainability, and how do we continue to generate fandom?
By the way, love Zach. This is such a genuinely lovely dude. Anyway.
NaCl. We especially like the success of organizations like Disguised, which paired the excitement of influencers with grassroots support towards the players. Lots of people like Toast are interested in esports, but actually creating an organization is a daunting task. So we created a partnership framework that enabled all the fun of owning an esports org.
I know who Brandon Sanderson is, but I have no idea what the thing that they mentioned about him.
The new NaCl, North American Celebrity League. They will be directly partnering with existing NaCl teams to provide financial support as their players pursue going pro. In return, the incoming orgs will be able to channel their esports fandom by integrating with teams on the broadcast. In this case, Dragonsteel will be partnering with Maryville University, while Starforge Systems will be partnering with Cincinnati Fear. This model is a huge win for everyone. Exciting new partners get to dip their toes in the ecosystem, NaCl teams get help towards sustainability, and most of all, the fans now have more options than ever to find an NaCl team to root for. We hope you'll give a warm welcome to our new competitors.
Okay, I don't follow the amateur scene, to be honest, or the Tier 2 scene, so none of this really means anything to me, just because I couldn't even tell you what the system was like before that. Fearless Draft is cool if we like that.
The first time we tried out Fearless Draft, and the overall feedback was really positive. In fact, the most common feedback we received was that it didn't go far enough. That's why in summer, we're excited to announce the NaCl will be going full Fearless. This means that anytime either team picks a champion, neither team can play it for the remainder of the series, including for BO5.
I have not tried Dark and Darker.
That said, we don't want BO5s to get too chaotic, which is why in Game 4, teams will be limited to only their first round bans, 3 champions per team. In Game 5, teams won't be able to ban anything. It'll just be the 40 champions picked previously in the series that won't be allowed. Speaking of BO5s, we also heard your feedback that you wish there were more, and we agree. That's why we're doubling the amount of BO5s.
Man, I want to open up. Maybe I should just start teaching people how to talk on camera. I love you, Zach. Again, I love you. But maybe I should just teach people how to talk into a camera. I feel like maybe there's... No, it's not just diction school. I'm talking about how to speak into a camera and to communicate ideas to people on the other side of a camera naturally.
In our playoffs this split, last but not least, anything.
Like, I hate to use him as an example because he's such a nice guy and he's not on-camera talent.
That won't be allowed. Speaking of VO5s, we also heard your feedback.
He's reading, right? Like, you can tell that he's just straight up reading.
That's why we're doubling the amount of VO5s in our playoffs this split.
For the most part, but
the NaCl will be introducing
and it's very
money
robotic.
In summer.
It's very, and here's how it's supposed to be
said. It's something that you may be familiar with from other esports, but it's exactly like it sounds. The winner of a specific match will walk away with cash prizing. During the NaCl Super Weeks on weeks 4 and 5, we'll give each NaCl team 2 money matches to create some extra
Hey, very cool. I'm gonna be honest, y'all. I don't care that much about the NaCl stuff.
The NaCl team's
okay,
really
he's almost
excited
done.
about this concept. I felt it was a great way to spice things up during the middle of the season. So that's all I have time for in this video, but make sure to check out the accompanying NaCl Primer article for more information on our schedule, formats, as well as our new NaCl money matches, our new YouTube channel, and the NaCl qualifiers. With all that said, it's time to pass it back to everyone's favorite commissioner to close us out. Take it away, Mark.
Thanks, Zach. That should do it for everything you need to know on how to enjoy the summer split. Let us know what you're most excited about in the comments below. That's going to do it for us here, and we'll see you back for the start of the season.
Yeah, Mark's reading too there. You can tell. Okay, more W's. Mark is so based. Hell yeah, I'm impressed, Mark. Really, really impressed. Same. I love Mark. Best thing to have happened in the LCS. Generally agrees. One of the best additions that they ever had. Keep it up, Mark. That's fun. Dope. People seem relatively happy about it. That's good. Continue that positive sentiment. W's keep coming. Mark the real NA GOAT. Making 2024 the greatest year for League is a bit of a stretch there, but they're doing good work. They are doing good work. Fearless Draft is hype. I might start watching NaCl. Did they have a separate channel on Twitch? I actually don't know, Slothan. They did at one point. I don't know what they broadcast on anymore. I don't know if they broadcast on the LCS, on Riot Games, on NaCl, or what. Hey, that guy only started watching a few years ago. Maybe. Yeah, actually. It's possible. Feels like they are at least trying to make positive changes for the first time in a while. So that's nice. I 100% agree. I 100% agree. There you go. That's the NaCl, the Salt League. No, I mean, again, all credit to Mark. Somebody who I think should have had this job a year or two before he did. Glad to see that he's finally in this role. I think he has largely ushered in positive changes in his role as commissioner. And so hopefully they continue to see that growth. Like I said, if we go back to those viewership charts from the last video, it worries me that they won't show absolute numbers because that tells me the numbers are still really, really bad. But the trend is at least moving back in the right direction. They had their first year of growth. Whatever that growth may have been, even if it came from a small number, it is growth. And that's huge because there hadn't been growth since the pandemic. Right? We grew in 2020, and that was largely just because of the pandemic, not because the show was good. If anything, the show was worse, and we grew just because of the circumstance. And it's just been on a downward spiral since then. So, hey, the first time they can get it to spiral back